Elon Musk is a polarizing figure. You either love him or hate him. To some, he's a visionary, while to others, he's a clueless madman. Even if you're a devout Musk supporter, you have to admit his announcement to nuke Mars was most strange, if not insane, proposal yet. Is this the delusion of a lunatic or an innovative attempt at interplanetary colonization? Hold on tight, because in today's video, we'll be looking at Musk's plan to nuke the red planet. Elon Musk wants to land humans on Mars by 2026. When you think of Mars, maybe you imagine a cold, lifeless planet with red soil. But not Musk. Musk wants to terraform the planet completely and make it our second home in case there's a giant catastrophe on Earth. But to colonize the red planet, Musk would need a fleet of reusable ships, brave pioneers willing to risk their lives, and maybe even nuke the planet entirely. Nuking Mars has long been on the list of things Musk wants to do. Musk tweeted, almost without prompting, "Nuke Mars!" in August 2019. He followed up with another tweet a few hours later saying, "T-shirt shortly." Although Musk's post is in his usual sinister undertone, the billionaire has long been advocating for shooting nuclear weapons at Mars with the goal of terraforming it, that is, making the surface habitable for humans. Out of all the planets in the solar system, Mars is the one that most closely resembles Earth in terms of human ability to live there. Venus is smaller and lighter than Earth, but its thick carbon dioxide atmosphere gives its surface pressure 90 times of that of Earth. Not to mention the insanely toxic sulfuric acid rain. But don't get it twisted, Mars isn't vastly superior. In the extremely cold conditions there, you'd suffocate before freezing to death, so it's not going to be a walk in the park. But is nuking Mars really the answer to transforming it from a cold desert with a thin atmosphere to a second Earth? Mars currently appears to be a dry, dead planet, but its polar ice caps contain about equal parts carbon dioxide and water. The idea is to evaporate the water frozen in ice in Mars's poles, releasing enough carbon dioxide and water vapor, both potent greenhouse gases, into the atmosphere. Once the atmosphere gets thick enough, the greenhouse effect would kick in. Energy from the sun would be trapped after being absorbed by the planet and released as infrared radiation, causing the surface to warm up. The Martian rocks then heat up to emit more CO2, which heats the planet up even more. This releases more carbon dioxide and kicks off a chain reaction until, ideally, the surface pressure of Mars rises to the point where liquid water can exist, making it considerably more livable for oxygen-producing plants. This would result in a world with a similar temperature to Earth, but with a thicker atmosphere. All we would need to finish the process is a few plants to pump out some oxygen, and voila, we have a new Earth. The tough part is initiating the greenhouse effect, since it would need thousands of nuclear bombs being fired over decades. And theoretically, just like that, you could start converting Mars from a red to a green planet. After that, it may only be a matter of centuries until people begin purchasing vacation homes on Mars. But Musk may have rushed into this one without giving it enough thought. This terraforming scheme of his has a number of faults. But are we really surprised? To begin with, the number of nuclear devices required is enormous. The ice caps on Mars's surface span hundreds of kilometers. So to release carbon dioxide, a massive number of detonated weapons would be required. To pull off such a move, experts estimate that we would need at least 10,000 of the heaviest nuclear weapons. Given that the world has only a stockpile of some 13,000 nuclear weapons, Musk may find it impossible to obtain them, let alone transfer them to Mars. Secondly, if you detonate a large number of nuclear weapons, you risk triggering a nuclear winter. Dust and debris would be thrown into the atmosphere as a result of the explosion. Mars's enormous wind speed would keep it up there for years, shutting out the sun. The temperature on the surface plummets as a result of this. As all of the water freezes, the emitted greenhouse gases are reabsorbed, leaving Mars perhaps colder than when we started. There's also radiation. Because Mars lacks a magnetic field and an ozone layer, this means that the surface is exposed to the sun's lethal radiation. Despite the freezing temperatures on Mars, the UV and cosmic radiation levels are significantly higher than on Earth, so you'd need some serious sun protection. Now imagine nuking Mars on top of all of this. The quantities of radiation flying about the planet would be catastrophically high. Radioactive fallout would effectively poison the soil, water, and air, preventing any kind of life from surviving. So if you want to live somewhere, don't use nuclear weapons to destroy it first. Finally, we reach the core of the flaws in Musk's plans. According to recent research, there's insufficient CO2 in the poles to even induce the massive climate change required to initiate the runaway greenhouse effect. There's also ethical issues to consider, especially because we haven't fully explored the planet yet. There's the potential that there would be a population of indigenous organisms on Mars that would be wiped out if we detonated even one nuclear bomb, let alone 10,000. It would be nice to know that no microbes from a previous time are still remaining in the ice. The chances are high, but no one can say they're zero either, so we probably shouldn't nuke the planet entirely. The truth is, humanity is not yet powerful enough to consider transforming a planet to fit our needs. You'll need to do a lot more than merely warm up Mars to make it look anything like Earth. You gotta lower the toxicity of the atmosphere, add oxygen, and raise the volume of H2O, reduce soil toxicity, lower cosmic radiation levels, and prevent the new, denser atmosphere from being blown away by solar winds. There's no way to tackle any of these problems with a big old bomb. Even if the terraforming was effective, Mars's magnetic field would make it uninhabitable for a long time. Because of its low gravity and lack of magnetosphere, the sun's radiation depletes Mars's atmosphere at an alarming rate. This is why Mars has such a thin atmosphere and so little water. It was all lost to space billions of years ago when the atmosphere and water vapor were stripped away by the solar wind. Even if this bizarre concept worked, it would not be a long-term answer. So it really all comes down to this. How can we transform Mars? Well, there are a couple of theories. Asteroids are thought to have played a key part in transforming Earth into the green world it is today. We may try the same thing with Mars by launching a swarm of smaller asteroids or a few large asteroids at the planet. If we divert the comets and allow them to burn up, massive amounts of CO2, as well as possibly water, would be released. We could set up factories on Mars with the sole purpose of producing gases such as CO2 and CFCs alongside water vapor and methane and releasing them into the atmosphere. Another method would be to use mirrors to terraform Mars. A series of huge space mirrors with a diameter about equal to the distance between Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia would be used to reflect the sun's beams onto Mars. This will evaporate CO2 that has accumulated on the planet, causing a greenhouse effect. The photosynthesis of genetically modified bacteria is another way to create a livable atmosphere on Mars. For more than a century, scientists and science fiction writers have toyed with the idea of terraforming Mars. The transformation of Mars into a green planet is considered a critical step towards humanity's evolution into an interplanetary species. But maybe it's time to scratch nukes from the list entirely. Aside from ethical and legal concerns, we would need to launch 3,000 bombs over Mars every day for nearly 7 weeks. At that rate, we would run out of nukes long before we finish terraforming it. Do you think sending nukes to Mars is a good idea? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe with post notifications for more SpaceX and Elon Musk videos.